Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest business chat with me, Glenys Chatterley. Today, I've got, let's just go over something. EBN. I keep saying EBN stands for Effective Business Network, and I'm trying to decide whether I still need to say Effective Business Network or whether it's all EBN. So when you're doing your comments, please feel free to input that bit. Anyway, back to the plot. Today, I've got with me Michael Smith from Michael Stewart Associates, who's an accountant and he's really good at the tax bit. He's really good at all of it, but he's really, really good at the tax bit. So I thought it'd be interesting to have a chat to him today. Morning, Michael, and I'll be up to morning, it'll do. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me on, as it were.
Yeah. Did you cultivate that plant yourself, or was that there in your office when you walked in this morning? It looks very healthy, that plant behind you.
Well, it is, isn't it? No, it's I can't take the credit for that. I'm afraid it's a Regus plant. It's been planted. It's been planted on me.
It's been left for you, right?
Part of the monthly rent. But
fantastic. Yeah, even the plants. That's good. So you do, as I said, you're an accountant. And you're particularly interested in the tax area of accountancy, is my impression of you. Have I got that right, or am I?
Yes, I think that's broadly. I mean, obviously we do the basics and the compliance bits, but the tax side certainly. I like the intellectual challenge of it, and I feel generally that's where clients see value.
Right. And how long have you been an accountant for?
Oh, wow. So I qualified crikey, it makes me sound old. I qualified in 2001. And then I joined a specialist, qualified as a chartered certified accountant in 2001. Then I went into London to join a specialist tax practice and started studying for my tax exams. So I qualified with that in 2005 and then joined PwC. And it's really gone on the tax side, and it really went from there.
What's PwC?
PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Okay, and just for those who are
their marketing department would be very annoyed at that, Glenys, because if someone says PwC, they expect everybody to know. But,
not this person. It went straight over my head.
On certain metrics, they're the largest accounting or consulting firm, as they'd like to be known in the world. Right. All these firms have their own way of measuring to make themselves look the biggest, but certainly I think in terms of numbers of people, they are now the largest.
Okay. And what is it about accountancy or about the tax that really is your thing? Why this rather than something else?
That's an interesting question. I guess you get the chance to meet many people, to help and add value to many people's businesses in this field. It was tricky. Oh dear. What can I say? I guess it's having one's own business. You're offering something that people need. As I say, one can add a fair amount of value to it. I've always had, I guess, looking back, I've always had a flair for numbers. And it really goes
from there.
Yes, it really goes from there. I mean, it's a tricky question. I probably should have preempted it being asked. But I certainly think. I mean, having thought about it a bit more, one can put oneself in the place of. You can over time become the trusted advisor to business, the trusted advisor to people.
Yes, and I guess the thing is with accountancy, tax, that sort of area, it changes a lot. And people like myself, I don't want to be working out what the latest thing is with the government that I have to know about, and what's the form that I need to fill in this time that I didn't last time, or this week that I didn't last week. And I think that's the thing. It's having people like yourself who you can trust to get all of that done and tell us what we need to know. So take all the big problem and filter it down to do that now, sign this now.
I think that's I guess there's two sides to it. There's that side of it. There's the compliance, but making sure that people keep their obligations and know what they have to pay and when. I guess in that respect, what is one selling? What is one offering? I guess you could say we're filling in tax returns and we're providing business function. But the reality is, I think one is selling peace of mind.
Yeah.
That people know that people know that their affairs are being taken care of, that they're being dealt with, that they won't generally miss a deadline, that their affairs are up to date. And that is a huge part of it.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. You're taking that weight off of people's shoulders.
Yeah.
And you know, now that we've got a few of us here, we can offer that. And particularly the way the world's going, there's more and more bureaucracy. We're going to go into a period where we're going to have making tax digital. Essentially, people are going to have to file 4 tax returns, effectively 4 or 5 tax returns a year potentially. So it's that whole weight of compliance that we take off of people's minds. Personally, that is a huge part of it, but that's not necessarily where all of the value is added. So I guess that's a given. People come to an accountant. Here's my tax return. Here's my accounts. One expects that to be done competently and efficiently. I guess on top of that, or in addition to that, one can offer advisory, tax mitigation, tax planning, etc. And I think that's where I like to think that we, along with my services and the others, that we offer that value. Yeah,
I think that's the case. I know that many years ago I had an accountant who sort of went, "Oops, I don't know if I told you, but we made a bit of a mistake, or there has been mistake made," and it was sort of implied it was me, and it could well have been. You owed the VAT £7,500, and I just put my head on the desk and cried, because I knew that I didn't have £7,500 in my account at that moment. I'm suffice to say, I moved on from that accountant, because it is that peace of mind. You need to know that everything is being done so that you pay legally as little as you need to pay, but pay enough that you need legally to pay. It's that balance in the timely manner. Because I know I had a friend who was an accountant. This is years and years ago, and probably, maybe 30 odd years ago. And he took about 4 goes at passing the accountant's exam, because he kept saying, it's really hard. It's not an easy exam. You just don't, it's not a, multi-choice and, you get a fair chance of guessing some of them. He said, it's a really difficult exam, a really difficult qualification to get. And also with you're chartered, which is even more qualified, isn't it? That, you don't get chartered just because you've filled in so many vouchers and handed them in.
No, I guess on the tax side of the Chartered Tax Advisor qualification, that was one that took at the time, probably still does, a heck of an amount of time and energy. So in terms of that, I guess looking back, the sheer number of years and time that one spends in going through that process, and how could I say, I wouldn't want to be doing it now. I think when you're in your 20s, when you're in your 20s, and perhaps you only yourself to think, you don't realise it at the time, but that there's only you to think about. I think when life moves on, I think it would be tough. But there's a payback for it. Again, you spend a number of years doing that. You try and acquire knowledge and experience that not only is relevant to accountancy, but that perhaps other accountants don't. Yeah. You try and set yourself slightly above that.
Yes.
That fray, and now it is undoubtedly paying a dividend in terms of the type of clients that we're able to get. It's unbelievable, really. It's fantastic. But just this year, for example, 2 of the clients that we've had through our referral campaign, they're clients that they're exceptionally good clients to have for anybody, and for us, and here in the position that you are in when you start a business. It's brilliant to be able to do that. And I probably wouldn't be, going back to your question about the exams, if I hadn't gone through that whole process, it would be far more difficult to be able to offer that level of support to
yeah,
those clients. So it's like anything, I guess. It plays a dividend in time.
yes. But I think also that it's finding the right one. So let me ask you, if I was looking for a new accountant, what are the sort of things that I should think about when I'm looking for, I mean, apart from obviously just ringing your number, what are the things I should be thinking about, or questions I should be asking somebody who is going to become my new accountant? What would you think?
Yeah. So I guess it's if you're a business owner and you probably, what I'd be asking is, who will I be dealing with on a day-to-day basis? This is not derogatory to other firms in any way, but quite often that when one approaches a professional, an accountant, you will be introduced to the owner, the director, the partner, one of the partners, call it what you will, and you establish a relationship with them. But I guess the question is, who would one be dealing with on a day-to-day basis? And we're I mean, there's 4 of us here now, and we all manage our clients directly. For some of the larger firms, the smaller business in particular, they get handed down to perhaps less experienced colleagues. I think that's an issue. I guess I'd look for technical specialism in the area that your business is involved with. So, for example, we now have, I have to check the files, probably approaching 200 property clients, property companies, property investors, developers. So that, in a sense, that feeds on itself in that we have that specialism. So we gain more clients in that field, which informs our knowledge in that area. So I think that people, probably a relationship, you want somebody who's going to be responsive, perhaps, and again, there's probably not a right or wrong here, but somebody who perhaps sees things, different accountants will have different views on different things. Nothing's right or wrong, but if you're an exceptionally financially conservative person, you probably don't want somebody who's going to perhaps steer a path that might be more, aggressive or and that type of thing. But I guess you get a feeling for when you appoint people. Technical competence, I guess, is a given. I mean, personally, I think one should always appoint a qualified firm.
Yes, absolutely.
There are no requirements. Anybody in theory can call themselves an accountant.
Which is a nonsense, really, isn't it? I mean, you should have something that says, not anybody can call themselves a doctor. You have to actually have a qualification. And I'm not saying, it's life and death. It's about having a basket of competencies that I think,
Yeah, I guess there's two sides to it. I guess there's the competency side. If somebody is qualified or the firm is qualified, they've gone through that process, and they have to keep up. They have to undertake annually certain requirements to keep up to date. You will know that they're obliged to carry professional indemnity insurance. So in the hopefully unthinkable scenario that something goes very wrong, of course there will be a formal complaints procedure, ultimately a disciplinary procedure if something was to go wrong, which you don't get with people who aren't qualified. That's I guess one might say, I don't know this as fact, but one might say that in terms of documents that are presented to HMRC, if something goes in from a qualified firm, that may carry extra weight, particularly on the technical side of it, rather than anybody. So I don't know that as fact, and different people will give different views. But certainly there's a greater structure and a greater security, I think, in appointing.
Right. So how long have you been in business for yourself?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. So strictly for myself, i.e. without having any external employment or consultancy, probably 5 or 6 years now. It was a gradual process. So I left PwC in 2007. I then went into, I won't name them, but I went into industry for a couple of years or 3 years, in fact, with a blue chip employer. I was gaining clients privately, and they were building up to the point where I was eventually doing some consulting. I was very fortunate. I had some decent consultancy contracts in London, and that I'd maybe go somewhere for a month or 6 weeks or a couple of months, and then build the private practice up. I mean, 2006, 2015, 2016, I kind of had enough clients to
jump ship and go out on your own.
You have to take that decision. I mean, so in terms of that's the whole thing, because there comes a point where you'd be letting everybody down if you didn't go one way or the other. So I came over here. We took the small office. So it was just me then, so I took the small office here, and really built it up from there. And interestingly, when one takes that jump, you can be far more focused, and you can make far more of an offer. All of one's energies are focused in that direction.
Well, it has to be, doesn't it? Because you've got to make your own income then. There's nothing, I think, focuses the mind quite as much as an empty bank balance, really,
Oh, and it's tricky, because I was fortunate that I was always able, almost at the drop of a hat, if I wanted to go and get consultancy work and other work, and which is great, but that becomes a bit of effectively an inhibitor, in that if at some point you have to say, no, this is what I want to do with the rest of my it's what I've always wanted to do. I have to get on with it, and thankfully it couldn't have worked out better. I guess it can always work out better, but compared to the plan and everything else, so the volume of clients, the quality of clients, the quality of people that I've been able to get have been fantastic. So yeah.
So what would you say then, having to somebody, either to your younger self before you made that leap, or to somebody who's thinking of setting up their own business? What would you say? What advice would you give them?
Personally, I'd do it sooner. So again, it's ultimately you have to. I guess somebody compared it to me once, like standing on the edge of a cliff with a parachute. You have to jump.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to jump, and it's very easy to take, if you like, refuge in the comparative security of the corporate world, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But if in your heart you don't want to do that, you're always going to be leaving something behind. So I think if one wants to set up one's own business, you almost have to do it and then learn, rather than. When I say learn, there's doing the job, the technical side, which is fine for me. That's fine, but learning how to run a business, manage clients, manage everything that comes with that, even with an accountancy background, it's still an education. So I guess to say to people, if that's what you want to do,
do it.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yes.
In a service business, you're not generally committing tens of thousands of pounds of capital. Generally, it's only time and a small amount of capital. So if it doesn't work, then so be it. Well, you've learned something, and
yes, and it's. I think it's. I always, coming many years ago from a counselling background, that it's not the things that you have a go at that fail that you regret. It's the things you never have a go at, because you then spend your time thinking, what if I'd have done this, or what if I'd have done that, or would it have happened that? So I think, you have to do it, and it's almost one of those, itches that you've got to scratch. You have to do it and commit to it, and then go, okay, this is what I do. Because I take your point, when I first left the corporate world, I had lots of opportunities of doing consultancy work for people. And the reality was that if I'd have, and at the beginning I took a bit, and then I realized that if I wasn't careful, it was going to become what I did. And what I didn't want to do was be a consultant doing what I did before, but perhaps charging more money. I wanted to do something else that was mine, that I'd created. So I get your point, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so I know that you've got a little, is your little one, is she about 5? Have I got that right?
It's frightening. It's frightening actually. Actually, she's going to be 5 in October, which is I know time does accelerate as you go through life, but crikey, it's unbelievable. But
yeah. Yeah, and
are.
she's going, so she must be going to school.
She's going to school. Thankfully,
Oh.
she's got into a good school, so that's one
Yeah.
one less battle. But I mean, going back to what you said about starting up, in a sense, I kind of wish that I'd jumped before I did. In a sense, you can kind of get to this stage and then have a bigger business. There's accountants that I speak to who are speaking to now. And that's the other thing, of course, when you set up in business, whether it's one's mind or whatever it is, you become attuned to other people, to other, if you like, entrepreneurs, other professionals. You see what they've done in a few more years than you've had, and you think, well, if I'd have jumped, I might have done that. So I'm hoping to kind of build the bigger picture for when. But no, on the family side, no, that's it's frightening. Again, one kind of complements the other. At least, I mean that's the other thing, and at least I feel I've got something to do it for.
Yes.
Yes. We are all influenced by what's around us, particularly when we're young, especially when we're young. And I guess if going back to principles, if your children see that you're going out and having a go, hopefully some of that will, and you're trying to do it in a decent and, if you like, honourable way, then that will somewhere go in.
Yes.
And because we all have to make our own way.
Yeah. I think I have friends who have. I've not got children. I remember saying to some friends who have a couple of lads, and they're now men and out in the world and doing great things. I once said to her and her husband, "They're really nice lads. How did you manage all that?" And she said, "Look," she said, "you do what you think's the right thing to do. And there's a sprinkling of luck that, nothing untoward happens that you hadn't thought of, or that, whatever it is." She said, "But no, it's luck." She said, there is no qualification. You just do what you think's the right thing to do at any given moment and carry on doing that. So.
I was fortunate in that. One of the advantages, I mean, I guess we things fall as they fall, but some friends, they had children 5 or perhaps even 10 years before I did. So I guess I've seen their tribulations and successes.
Yes.
So I've been able to leverage their collective.
And it's all about learning off other. Yeah, it's all about learning off other people, isn't it? Really.
Indeed.
Sometimes you watch other people and go, "No, I'm not doing that one."
Yes. No, it's good.
This has been really good. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to sign off because we'll probably talk off camera with lots of information about tax. But for now, thank you, Michael, for your time. For you who are watching, please watch to the end, because we don't want to mess with the algorithms. And then if you could subscribe to the channel, comment, like, tell your friends. And what else could you do? Oh, you could come back next week, because there'll be another session of this business chat with me, Glenys Chatterley. And thank you, Michael, for your time.
Thank you. Goodbye.